Good evening, I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. Welcome to News Tonight. Now, efforts to hold the monsoon session of Parliament are continuing, with the presiding officers of both houses directing the officials to explore virtual participation and other options. This comes even as the daily coronavirus cases in India are closing in on the 10,000 mark. That and much more coming up in the next 30 minutes. The top story of the day: Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu and Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Tuesday reviewed various options for holding the ensuing monsoon session of Parliament. The Secretaries General of both Houses of Parliament briefed the two presiding officers on various options under consideration in the meeting convened by Chairman Naidu. Here are the details.
Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu and Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Tuesday reviewed various options for holding the ensuing monsoon session of Parliament. The Secretaries General reported the outcomes of assessment of seating capacity in the chambers of both houses, the Central Hall of Parliament and the Plenary Hall of Vigyan Bhavan. They informed that while the Rajya Sabha chamber can accommodate about 60 members as per the norms of social distancing, the Lok Sabha chamber and the Central Hall is adequate enough for a little over 100 members. They further said that even if the members were to be accommodated in the galleries, the total seating capacity would be much less than the required if all members were to be accommodated. Another option discussed was to enable attendance in the chambers of both houses of only those many members who can be accommodated as per the social distancing norm by drawing up lists of such members whose participation in various items of business is required on a daily basis. Chairman Naidu and Speaker Birla directed the top officials to examine in detail various issues related to enabling virtual participation of members in the proceedings of both houses as per the rules of business of both houses and other technical issues. Regarding virtual meetings of the parliamentary committees, it was explained that any change in the rules concerning such meetings required a motion to be carried in both the houses of parliament. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
And biennial elections to 24 seats of the Rajya Sabha will be held later this month.
These seats include 18 where polling was postponed due to the COVID-19 lockdown. The remaining 6 seats are falling vacant in June and July. Tuesday was the last day of filing nominations for 6 seats from the 3 states of Karnataka, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram. Elections will be held on 19th of June. The breakup is 4 seats each from Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat and Karnataka, 3 seats each from Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, 2 from Jharkhand and 1 seat each in Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh. It seems to be a close contest in several states, including in Karnataka, Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh. From Karnataka, JDS Patriarch H.D. Devegowda filed his nomination as party candidate for the Rajya Sabha polls on Tuesday. BJP fielded grassroots workers Eranna Kadadi and Ashok Gasti from Karnataka, while Congress named senior leader Mallikarjun Kharge. In Gujarat, the BJP nominated Abhay Bharadwaj, an eminent lawyer from Rajkot, and Ramilaben Bara, a former government official and tribal from Sabarkantha. The party has also named Narhari Amin, a former Congress veteran. The Congress also nominated its national spokesperson Shakti Singh Gohil and former Union Minister Bharat Singh Solanki from Gujarat. From Madhya Pradesh, the BJP is fielding Jyotiraditya Scindia, while the Congress has named Digvijay Singh as its candidate.
And now an update on the coronavirus situation in our country. Over 2.66 lakh coronavirus cases have been reported in India till now, after a record number of 9,987 cases were reported on Monday. Here are all the details.
India reported the highest single-day spike of 9,987 new COVID-19 cases and 331 deaths in the last 24 hours. This is the biggest single-day jump in cases as the country recorded over 9,000 cases for the 7th consecutive day. The total number of cases in the country now stands at 2,66,598, including 1,29,917 active cases and 1,29,215 patients cured. The recovery rate is 48.46%. 7,466 patients have succumbed to the disease. Of the total active cases in India as of Tuesday morning, Maharashtra, Delhi, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and West Bengal account for 67% of them, with Maharashtra at the top with over 44,000 active cases. These 5 states have recorded 82% of all COVID-19 related deaths too in India so far. With 3,169 deaths, Maharashtra has the highest toll in the country, followed by Gujarat, which also has the worst fatality rate at 6.2%. 874 people have died in Delhi, while over 400 people have lost their lives in Madhya Pradesh and West Bengal. 4.7% people who tested positive for coronavirus have died in West Bengal. India's case fatality rate is 2.8%. With over 88,000 cases, Maharashtra remains the worst affected state. Cases in capital Mumbai went past 50,000, including over 1,700 deaths. Mumbai has reported the most deaths among all districts in the country. The mortality rate in the state has increased to 3.56% on June 7th from 3.27% on May 26th. On a positive note, the recovery rate in the state is showing constant improvement. From 26.25% on May 20th, it improved to 43.38% on May 29th. On Monday, the rate was 46.28%. The curve of COVID-19 positive cases in the DHARAVI slum has also started showing a declining trend. DHARAVI on Monday saw a drop in its daily tally of new coronavirus cases as the slum cluster reported only 12 new cases, taking the total to 1,924. In the last 7 days, DHARAVI has not reported a single death due to the virus. The DHARAVI slum cluster has so far reported 71 deaths. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on Tuesday chaired the 16th high-level group of ministers meeting in New Delhi to review, monitor and evaluate the evolving situation on COVID-19.
In the meeting, a presentation on the ground situation as well as the latest statistics with respect to coronavirus was also made. Dr. Harshvardhan asked all ministers attending the GOM to ensure that all norms of physical distancing, use of masks and face covers in all public places, adherence to norms of hand hygiene and protocols of respiratory etiquette are being strictly followed. He asserted that there is no space for complacency as he reminded everybody to download the Arogya Setu app. A comparative study of India vis-a-vis other countries in a similar stage of easing lockdown was presented during the meeting, underscoring the benefits that have accrued from the lockdown and how this can be leveraged in the management of the disease. The GOM was also briefed on the progress made in the spheres of the tasks assigned to the 11 empowered groups. The GOM was also apprised about the growing medical infrastructure in the country and was informed that as of 9th June 2020, the COVID-related health infrastructure has been strengthened with the availability of 958 dedicated COVID hospitals with 1,67,883 isolation beds, 21,614 ICU beds and 73,469 oxygen-supported beds. 2,313 dedicated COVID health centers with 1,33,037 isolation beds, 10,748 ICU beds and 46,635 oxygen-supported beds have also been operationalized. Moreover, 7,525 COVID care centers with 7,10,642 beds are now available to combat COVID-19 in the country. The ventilators available for COVID beds are 21,494.
Meanwhile, the high-level panel on health of the 15th Finance Commission says that the coronavirus pandemic could peak in different parts of the country at different times.
Dr. Randeep Guleria, director of AIIMS and convener of the panel, has reportedly suggested pooling of resources by states to ensure better availability of health infrastructure. He said that some states could be better equipped to manage an increasing number of cases, while others could be challenged. Based on a statistical analysis, the panel said the path of the pandemic so far had been different across states. While some like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Bengal and Delhi still have a large number of active cases, some moderation of the curve is seen in states like Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana and Kerala. The panel has cautioned that a COVID-19 mortality rate of above 5% could be a major reason for worry, especially given an expected surge in infections in poorly served districts. Top officials of the Indian Council of Medical Research said that if the number of deaths per day rise to 1,000 to 2,000, it will become alarming for the government. Right now, the COVID-19 mortality rate in India is around 2.8%, which is among the lowest in the world. They also noted how the current strategy of track, trace and treat is working well almost across states except in Maharashtra and Gujarat.
There is no community transmission of the coronavirus in Delhi so far. Now, this was conveyed by the centre at the Delhi Disaster Management Authority meeting chaired by Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal. Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia and Health Minister Satyendra Jain also attended the meeting. Sisodia said COVID-19 cases are doubling every 12 to 13 days in Delhi. He added that the Delhi government is making all the preparations to handle the huge rush of patients estimated by June end. Sisodia said according to current projections, Delhi could have 5.5 lakh coronavirus cases by 31st of July, which would require 80,000 beds. On Monday, Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal had overruled the Delhi government's order to reserve state-run and private hospitals for Delhiites alone. He also ordered strict compliance of ICMR guidelines, stating that testing is mandatory for 9 categories, including asymptomatic contacts of COVID-19 cases.
दिल्ली के लिए भी पूरी कोशिश रहेगी जितना मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज़ को एक्सपेंड कर सकें, जितना अधिक से अधिक संख्या में ऑक्सीजन बेड्स और ये सब खरीद सकें, इतनी संख्या में ऑक्सीजन बेड्स बनाने की अभी तैयारी हम लोग कर रहे हैं। कम्युनिटी स्प्रेड पर भारत सरकार के अधिकारीगण भी आए हुए थे। उनका कहना था कि अभी दिल्ली में कम्युनिटी स्प्रेड की स्थिति नहीं है, इसलिए अभी उस पर चर्चा की जरूरत नहीं है।
In some other news, the Supreme Court has directed the centre and the state governments to send all the migrant workers to their native places within 15 days.
The Apex Court, which had taken suo motu cognizance of the issue, said in its formal order that the centre must provide additional trains within 24 hours to those states making the demand for sending migrant workers back to their native places. The top court also directed authorities to consider withdrawing all cases against migrant workers under the Disaster Management Act for alleged violation of lockdown norms. Besides, all state governments and union territories have been asked to formulate employment schemes after conducting their skill mapping to rehabilitate them. States have also been asked to consider granting counselling to migrant workers who have returned to their homes and provide them employment opportunities. The top court had on 5th June reserved its order on the suo motu case registered on the plight of migrant workers during the coronavirus-triggered lockdown period. It had said that it intended to give 15 days to the centre and the state governments for sending all migrant workers wanting to return to their native places, and that they should be registered by the authorities for extending benefits of welfare measures, including employment opportunities.
Even as the situation in Europe is improving, the World Health Organization is warning that the coronavirus pandemic is worsening globally.
WHO's Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus told the media that about 75% of the cases reported to UN Health Agency in recent days came from 10 countries in the Americas and South Asia. WHO still feels the spread of the virus from people who do not exhibit the symptoms is rare. Numerous experts worldwide have, however, warned that such transmission is actually more frequent than what WHO believes. They also say that it explains why the pandemic has been so hard to contain. Over 7 million people are infected with the novel coronavirus globally. Over 4 lakh people have died.
Almost 7 million cases of COVID-19 have now been reported to WHO, and almost 400,000 deaths. Although the situation in Europe is improving, globally it's worsening. More than 100,000 cases have been reported on 9 of the past 10 days. Yesterday, more than 136 cases were reported, the most in a single day so far. Almost 75% of yesterday's cases come from 10 countries, mostly in the Americas and South Asia.
It still appears to be rare that an asymptomatic individual actually transmits onward. What we really want to be focused on is following the symptomatic cases. If we followed all of the symptomatic cases, because we know that this is a respiratory pathogen, it passes from an individual through infectious droplets.
And now the global update on COVID-19 pandemic and life for people in New Zealand began to return to normal on Tuesday as the government lifted all social distancing restrictions except border controls.
Cafes in New Zealand's capital Wellington were seen packed with customers while public transportation resumed at full capacity. New Zealand is one of the first countries in the world to restore normalcy after the pandemic outbreak, with public and private events, retail and hospitality industries allowed to resume without social distancing norms. The reopening comes a day after the country declared itself coronavirus-free.
Feeling just quite relaxed, and everyone else feeling relaxed around you. You're not trying to avoid people, and you can talk to people without feeling like you need to stand back.
Yeah, no worries at all. Pretty happy with it. I think we've done really well as a country to get rid of it all. And yeah, I'm feeling really happy that we're at level 1.
In the US, New York has entered the first phase of reopening, allowing non-essential retailers to reopen as well as operations in construction, manufacturing and wholesale trade to resume. More than 30,000 construction sites will reopen during the first phase, while 400,000 New Yorkers are expected to return to work this week.
I'm so excited! Yay! We're back in business! Yay!
On Tuesday, residents of Moscow began to resume their normal routines as lockdown curbs were loosened. Nearly 13 million residents in the Russian capital are now free to go outside when they want, use public transport and travel across the city in their own vehicles without any restrictions or digital passes. Russia has also allowed partial reopening of borders for some travelers, including foreign citizens needing treatment in Russia, and those with close relatives or guardians needing care can also now enter the country. Belgium allowed almost all businesses to reopen on Monday, including bars and restaurants with social distancing measures. Religious services have also resumed across the country. On Tuesday, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and his ministers held their first face-to-face cabinet meeting in almost 3 months. Spain has been gradually reopening its economy since Monday after a drop in coronavirus infection rates. Meanwhile, the West Indies cricket team arrived in Manchester on Tuesday ahead of the 3-test series against England. The first test will start on July 8th and will be played in a biosecure environment in view of the coronavirus outbreak. The team will also undergo a mandatory quarantine of 14 days. Businesses in Mexico City continued to reopen despite a surge in coronavirus-related deaths. Mexico reported 3,484 new cases and 188 fatalities on Monday. While China reported 3 new COVID-19 cases on Monday, among the cases 2 were detected in South China's Guangdong province and 1 in southwest China's Sichuan province. No new deaths were reported. The global death toll from the novel coronavirus has surpassed 4 lakhs with over 7.2 million infections.
In some other news, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Monday said that India's military and diplomatic level talks with China have been positive and will continue. Addressing the BJP's Maharashtra Jan Samvad rally via video link, the minister also said that the Narendra Modi-led government will ensure that India's pride is not affected as far as the situation along the Indo-China border is concerned. He said the border dispute between India and China has been ongoing for a long time and the countries want to resolve it as soon as possible. Singh also slammed the Congress for targeting the government on the border issue and said he would make a statement in parliament and not mislead the people.
भारत चीन को सीमा को लेकर एक विवाद का सिलसिला लंबे समय से चला आ रहा है। हम चाहते हैं कि यह सीमा का विवाद जल्दी से जल्दी सुलझना चाहिए। इस समय भारत और चीन दोनों के बीच मिलिट्री लेवल पर भी बातचीत चल रही है और डिप्लोमेटिक बातचीत भी चल रही है। अभी 6 तारीख को जो बातचीत हुई है, बातचीत काफी पॉजिटिव रही है, काफी सकारात्मक रही है। भारत और चीन दोनों इस बात पर सहमत हुए हैं कि आगे भी सीमा विवाद को सुलझाने के लिए और इस समय का जो टसल है उसे सुलझाने के लिए यह बातचीत का सिलसिला हम लोगों का आगे चलेगा। हम लोग किसी भी सूरत में भारत के सम्मान और स्वाभिमान पर चोट नहीं पहुंचने देंगे। समस्त देशवासियों को इस वर्चुअल रैली के माध्यम से मैं विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं।
Meanwhile, in its first remarks on the 6th of June meeting of Indian and Chinese army commanders over the tense situation along the LOC in eastern Ladakh, Beijing on Monday said both sides agreed that there is need to implement the consensus among the leaders of the two countries and ensure that differences do not escalate into disputes. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunyin said that two sides will work to maintain peace and tranquility along the border and create a good atmosphere. She also said that the situation overall was stable and controllable and the two sides are ready to engage in consultation to properly solve relevant issues. It is noteworthy that tension between the two sides sharply escalated after reports of skirmishes between soldiers in the Pangong Lake region on 5th and 6th of May. The Chinese army is also reported to have been gradually ramping up its strategic reserves in its rear bases near the LAC by rushing in artillery guns, infantry combat vehicles and heavy military equipment. Union Home Minister Amit Shah addressed a virtual rally in West Bengal on Tuesday. Targeting the state government, he said that the poor and farmers in the state are not being allowed to benefit from central schemes.
Addressing the people of the state, Amit Shah raised serious concerns over the law and order situation in West Bengal. He said that the state has witnessed largest number of cases of political violence in the country.
मित्रों, मैं आज इस वर्चुअल रैली के माध्यम से करोड़ों बंगालियों का आह्वान करना चाहता हूं कि कम्युनिस्ट और तृणमूल दोनों को आपने आजमाया है, एक मौका भारतीय जनता पार्टी को दीजिए। एक 5 साल की सरकार के बाद बंगाल में भ्रष्टाचार नहीं होगा, टोलबाजी नहीं होगी, घुसपैठ नहीं कर पाएंगे, परिवारवाद समाप्त हो जाएगा, बेरोजगारी समाप्त हो जाएगी, हिंसा बंगाल की सीमाओं के बाहर हम छोड़ कर आएंगे।
The Home Minister said that people are being denied the benefits of the union government's welfare schemes like Ayushman Bharat and Kisan Samman Nidhi due to opposition by West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. He also criticized the West Bengal Chief Minister for terming the Shramik Express trains run by railways to transport migrant workers as Corona Express. He accused the state government of mishandling the COVID-19 pandemic and the cyclone Ampun situation.
और हर साल 6,000 रुपया पहुंचने, मगर फिर से बंगाल वाले आप ताली मत बताएं, क्योंकि किसानों का सूची जो राज्य सरकार ने केंद्र को देना चाहिए, ममता दीदी नहीं देती है। एक सूची भेज दो, मैं आपको कहता हूं, विश्वास दिलाता हूं, शनिवार को सूची भेज दीजिए, हम सोमवार को पैसा भेज देंगे, हम तनिक मात्र देंगे। मनमोहन सिंह जी की सरकार थी, 13वें वित्त आयोग में बंगाल को मनमोहन सिंह जी की सरकार ने 1,32,783 करोड़ रुपया 5 साल में दिया था और नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार ने 14 से 19 तक 5 साल के अंदर 4,48,214 करोड़। मगर मैं पूछना चाहता हूं, बंगाल का विकास हुआ है क्या? ये पैसे कहां गए?
Moving on in the bulletin, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu paid tributes to Birsa Munda on his 120th Martyrdom Day.
In his message, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said, Birsa Munda's courage, resolve and sacrifices will always be remembered and will continue to inspire people. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla also paid tribute to Birsa Munda, calling him the guardian of tribal rights and identity.
News from the United States now, and the protests continue in the country after the death of George Floyd, an unarmed black man killed in police custody. Anti-racism protests following Floyd's death are now entering their third week, with huge rallies held in several cities including Washington, D.C., New York, Chicago, Los Angeles and San Francisco. A county judge has ordered the Minneapolis Police Department to stop using all neck restraints and chokeholds when dealing with suspects. But there are calls to defund or outright abolish police departments. In Minneapolis, enough members of the city council are calling for a major shift in policing, with a dismantling of the police department to be replaced with an alternate. Cities like Los Angeles and New York have said they will cut millions of dollars in police funding. However, President Donald Trump said on Monday there will not be any disbanding of the police force.
This has been a very strong year for less crime. Let's put it that way, less crime. And there's a reason for less crime. That's because we have great law enforcement. I'm very proud of them. There won't be defunding. There won't be dismantling of our police. And there's not going to be any disbanding of our police. Our police have been letting us live in peace, and we want to make sure we don't have any bad actors in there.
Meanwhile, a funeral will be held for Floyd in Houston, where he grew up. He will be buried next to his mother. Mourners in Houston have been viewing his body publicly on display for 6 hours at the Fountain of Praise Church. Memorial services have already been held in Minneapolis and North Carolina, where Floyd was born. In another major development, ex-Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who pressed his knee on Floyd's neck, appeared virtually in a court on Monday, where his bail was set at $1.5 million. Chauvin faces charges of second-degree murder and manslaughter. 3 other arresting officers are charged with aiding and abetting murder. And that is it from me and the entire team of News Tonight at the moment. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time with all the day's big stories. Till then, stay safe, take care, and good night.